Hello book lovers, my name is Carrie and this is Spines and Spoilers. I'm going to jump right into this video. Today I want to discuss my TBR for January 2026. I usually open up my videos with what I'm reading and what I'm drinking, but given that this is my TBR, what I'm reading would automatically be on there anyway, and it would be redundant to go over that right now. But I'm drinking ice water because I just drank that much espresso. Okay, so I didn't mean for it to be espresso. It ground. Yeah, it was unintentional espresso. We'll say that. But I've had far too much caffeine, and it is too late in the day. So we are switching to water. I've also been recording for a while now. I've already done like 3 or 4 videos at this point. I'm losing count. But that's good. I'm glad that I can actually record and have the time to do that. The only reason I'm able to at the moment is because I'm pet sitting. And thankfully I remembered to bring my tripod this time so I can get some actual recording done. Anyway, if I'm rambly and wired, that's why. It's totally not just like my personality or anything like that. Would you prefer that or one of... Rockets, oh my god. One of the dogs is laying down at the base of my tripod and keeps on trying to sabotage this whole arrangement. On to the actual video. I am going to say that I already reread the Hunger Games series in its entirety at the beginning of this month because I ended up in one of those loops where all I wanted to read was the Hunger Games, and thankfully I'm kind of peeking my head back out of it. But yeah, full disclosure, I already read those. I'm not going to put them on my list for this year because I don't know, at this point it kind of feels like cheating. I had to pause so that you guys can kind of see what I'm working with here. That's my tripod, and that is Ruckus, and he keeps laying down on it. And then there's these two ladies, Cara and Josephine, and both of them really want attention right now. Oh no, Cara, did I stop petting you? Oh, she's so offended. Bye! And then there's Max over there, acting like he doesn't care, even though like half an hour ago he was begging for pets. Anyway, I figured that I would pay the pet tax this time and give you a little insight into what's going on this end. I love how I said I was going to jump right into it, then proceeded to ramble and show you video footage of animals. That is the opposite of jumping right into it. So now I will start the video with my TBR for January 2026. The first book that I want to read in January is The End of the World as We Know It by various different authors. Lots of really interesting authors. I have only read a few of the short stories so far. A lot of them are quite graphic and depressing, but all of them so far are relatively good at the very least. So there's that. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to bounce in between reading material when it comes to this one, like read a little bit of something else, then come back to this because of how dark it is. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a series of short stories that all take place in the universe of The Stand, written by Stephen King. Yeah, so that sounds like it is as far up my alley as it can go, basically. So hopefully it'll end up being good. The next book that I want to read is actually an audiobook that I have through Libby. That's a Great Question, I'd Love to Tell You by Elise Myers. She's a pretty popular like TikToker. I think she did Vine. She's branched out into all of these things. I'm really looking forward to reading this one. She seems like an extremely interesting person that has a lot to say, so we'll have to see there. The next book that I want to read is Whack Job, A History of Axe Murder by Rachel McCarthy James. Fun fact, whenever I picked this up at the library, I thought it was just a history on axes. Like, for some reason, I didn't look any closer. I have no idea why. I was just like, ooh, history of axes. That sounds interesting. If it's anything like the history of the chainsaw, let's go. But no, it's about the history of the axe murder, which is arguably more interesting. The next book that I want to read is another audiobook from Libby. It's One of Our Kind by Nicola Yoon. From what I understand, it's kind of a dystopian thriller romance. Either way, definitely in my wheelhouse. The next book that I want to read is The Illuminations by T. Kingfisher. You know I'm already excited about this one because Kingfisher. From what I understand in this universe, there are people who can draw illustrations and they can come to life. Maybe I'm misunderstanding that. I'm not sure. But this family is falling on hard times. That's like their primary job. And one of the children in the family accidentally lets something loose. It's kind of a vague idea of what it is. Usually she bases things off of like dark fairy tales or it's straight up horror. This one I feel like branches into some different stuff, so I'm intrigued to see where it goes. The next book is a great example of that. It's The Raven and the Reindeer, which is based on The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen. It is another Kingfisher and returns to her usual form of taking a fairy tale and either kind of returning it closer to its original form, or twisting into something different. But yeah, I do love her fairy tales, her dark fairy tales. Prefer her horror, but these are great. I remember correctly, the Snow Queen is what Frozen was originally supposed to be based around, so I'm extremely interested to see what she does with that general concept. The next book that I want to read in January is actually one that I want to finish because I have read so much of it for so long, and I don't know why, but I can't finish it even though it's good. It's The Blind Woodsman by Annie and John Furness. But it is a autobiography of sorts, autobiography written by him and his wife, about a blind woodsman, a carpenter who is blind, who had to teach himself how to be a carpenter after he lost his eyesight. My fear going into this one was that it was going to be like inspiration porn, and so far that doesn't seem to be the case. It's pretty interesting so far. Both Annie and John seem like extremely interesting individuals. Everything that I've read so far I really enjoy. I'm literally like, that's how much I have left. I don't know what the mental block is, but yeah, definitely want to finish this one this month. I probably have like 20 pages left at this rate. I don't know what I'm doing. The next book that I want to read in January is Magic is for Liars. Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. I like this author. I've read some of her work in the past. So when I was at the library, I saw this and was like, I've never heard of that before. I wonder what it's about. Apparently, it is about a private investigator looking into a school for witchcraft and wizardry. And I just love the idea of that so much. I think that's such an interesting concept, and I'm really intrigued to see how they handle that and what they do with the material, because I think that could be so fun. The next book that I want to read in January is The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. This one is a fantasy, and I feel like I'm actually kind of in the headspace to read fantasy right now, so we'll see. It's kind of more like modern fantasy. There used to be like magical portals in London, and for some reason they were all closed, and only certain individuals can access portals to other realms now. And you know, there's some kind of plot device going on where they have to find the thing. But yeah, it sounds interesting to me. It sounds a lot like a book that I read in middle school, I think, that I cannot remember the name of, and it drives me nuts every day because it was such a good book and it was about something very similar. If you know of a book that sounds like that, please let me know. I've been looking for it for years, but I can't remember enough about it to actually look it up. Like, I just remember the vaguest concept that it was about a portal to another world. I don't know. But that's what made me intrigued about this one. Plus it's V.E. Schwab, and everything that I have read by Schwab so far has been good. I accidentally got the large print version, but you know, it's fine. Maybe that'll help me get through it quicker. So I just had an interesting realization. I thought I had one more book that I wanted to read in January, only to realize I've already read this book. It's The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins. I read it last year, and for some reason it didn't end up on my list of books that I'd read for the year. This is the second book that happened with. The other one was Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang, which is disappointing because I really liked that one. And I actually really liked this one too. I just thought that it was a different book, basically. I thought it had a different name. So I don't know what's going on with Storygraph, but you guys kind of need to step up your game, because that's the second book that was purged from my list, and I really do not know why. But that brings up my total to 85 books that I read last year. Who knows, if I keep on remembering books that Storygraph bumped off, maybe I did actually make my goal of 100 books for the year. Anyway, this feels a little anticlimactic, but that's all the books that I want to read for January. Travis Baldree has another book that came out, like the third book in his Legends and Latte series. I can't remember the actual name for it. And I have that on hold on Libby, but I don't think that it's actually going to, like, I'm actually going to get it before the end of January. If I do, then that will be added to the list. But until then, this is what we're looking at. Do I think that I'll actually read all these? Absolutely not. I have been in a reading slump the size of the Grand Canyon for a couple months now, and the only thing that I have felt like reading is The Hunger Games. I'm just getting back to the point where I feel like reading other things, and I feel a little bit like if I push myself to make myself get this done, hi Max, that I'm probably not going to end up doing it. What are we doing? That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it way more than you know. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch this video. Don't know why you're here, but I appreciate that you are. So sorry for the squeaking. I thought I was solving one issue and I just started another one. If you want to like and share and subscribe and all that jazz, then please feel free to do so. I'm not going to twist your arm. What I would like you to do, however, is to remember, above all, to love yourself. Like, just give it a little try. I know that it's like the last thing you probably want to do sometimes, and I'm talking to someone in particular. In this case, I'm thinking of someone in particular. You know who I'm talking about, because you do not think of yourself ever. You're always thinking about other people. And I need you to love yourself, please, because I love you, and all the people in your life love you. So please, love yourself, take care of yourself, and everyone have a happy new year. Sorry, that got lecturing. Bye!